stand. This is the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference reaction for Manchester United versus Leicester. And if you thought this Friday morning was going to be one full of positivity, I'm afraid to say it started in a very, very, very poor way. I wish Matic was out injured. Paul Pogba, Luke Shaw, Martial, all out. All out of this game. From the words of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they will not play against Leicester City. And look, I don't think that definitely means we can't get a result, but it definitely does. And I'll say it straight away because we may as well be blunt. Thank you to Manchester United board. Thank you to Ed Woodward. Thank you to the Glazers. You've lubed us up over the summer and now we're getting bent over and screwed. Disgusting, disgusting, disgusting. And now it's hitting hard. And I hope every United fan realises that. The reason we're screwed after the fifth game of the season and you know, one injury to Paul Pogba and we're screwed. One injury to a player that maybe doesn't even want to be here and maybe isn't in any major rush to get back injured. I don't believe that, but who knows? And we're screwed. And we knew this. Herrera, Fellaini walk out the door. You don't bloody replace them. This is what happens. Sanchez, Lukaku walk out the door. You don't replace them. You've got to rely on an out-of-form Rashford if Martial gets injured. It's piss poor. And it comes down to the board. And I think we pussyfoot about it too much. The reality is, United are in this stupid situation literally at the start of the season because we didn't invest in the summer enough. The midfield is rubbish and up front we are very, very threadbare. But the biggest comment for me, the biggest comment from that press conference was, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was asked, with all the injuries you've got, this could be the youngest United side in a long, long time. And he said, well, no, it could be the oldest because you've got people like Mata and Matic who've got to step up to the plate now. Oh, great. So this is the vision. This is the vision. The fear from last night that we spoke about, this is the vision. You get injuries and you go back to defaulting using, you know, how can why are you even calling him Nemanja? Oh, Nemanja's got to step in. What, the same player that straight after the Southampton game went on social media and slagged you off? And you're going to play him? I'd rather have him sweeping the bloody streets outside Old Trafford and give James Garner a go. But oh no, let's go back to the old deadwood. And you know, I just find that really frustrating. Really frustrating. And it's just, it just feels like there's a white flag. He was asked about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's, he was asked about Paul Scholes saying, you've got to write United off for the next 2 years. And he basically puts the white flag up and says, well, look, we feel we're on the right track and in the right direction, but Paul Scholes knows Manchester United, and it probably is unrealistic that we can get close to Man City and Liverpool at the moment. So is that it then? This is us for 2 years, you know, and that's acceptable. I just think from top to bottom, and I'll quote what Gary Neville said a year ago, the problems at Manchester United go way higher than the playing staff and the managers, which hasn't been good enough. But it's from top to bottom. It's a bloody mess. It's a bloody mess. And I don't think that... No, I don't necessarily think we won't beat Leicester tomorrow. I think we can beat Leicester. I think we've got to go and expect to beat Leicester tomorrow. But the sheer fragility of Manchester United Football Club is exposed. It's absolutely exposed. The language that comes out, the defeatist white flag attitude... The fact that we get a couple of injuries and we're going to go and play Mata and Matic again. The fact that those injuries mean that, you know, we're basically expecting to lose tomorrow. We're Manchester United, for God's sake. The expectations are they're not on the floor. They're not in the basement. They're in bloody Australia if you live in the UK. They're so low. And I've got nothing against Australia. We live on a globe. It's round. So the lowest thing for me would be Australia. Tunnel right through the basement, right through the core of the earth. We are bloody low. And I didn't expect to be moaning this morning, but I think the fragility of United exposes it. 4 a.m. United stand here in the US. We're in trouble, says Zach Benson. And Mark, that's why any decent manager will not go there unless he's a puppet. Woodward out, and then you can get a world-class manager, says Zayn Mayasi. And what about Ollie's out? Ollie out. He's 2 weeks, says Richie. I think that's unfair. Did he say anything about Luke Shaw, says Strava? Luke Shaw's out. So let's talk about the injuries then. So Anthony Martial, Paul Pogba, Luke Shaw was already out, really. All three are out for this game. Ollie said it's time for Mata and Matic and Youngie, or Ash. He called him Ash, actually. He's not Youngie anymore. He's been promoted to Ash. For them to step up. So we know those three are going to start for a start. How Manchester United will line up tomorrow? Well, look, we're not threadbare that we can't play anybody. I would imagine the midfield is going to be this: McTominay, Matic and Mata. Have you ever seen a more depressing midfield three? And then I think the front three will be Rashford down the middle again, Dan James off the left and Lingard off the right. So there won't be any youth starting. They might be on the bench, but there won't be any youth starting. It will be Matic, Mata and McTominay as a midfield three, and then it will be Dan James, Lingard and Rashford as the front three. And Fred might make it to the bench with Pereira. I still don't think we'll see Gomez. And we'll just have to see what we can get out of the Leicester game. But I said this about the Pogba injury. I think a lot of people are surprised about the Pogba injury, and I want to get into the comments. But the Pogba injury doesn't surprise me. I said this. When he pulled out of the French squad, I didn't think he would play against Leicester. Because, and go back to the video on the Monday where he pulled out, he loves playing for France. It's his release. It's his happy time. If he can't, and France have 2 games, so if he was going to be fit for the second game, he would have stayed with France. The minute he comes back from France, I'm like, well, he clearly isn't fit to train even for the second game, which means he's got to have a miraculous recovery this week to play against Leicester, and he hasn't had it. Martial's injury is obviously as long-term as we feared it was going to be, as is Luke Shaw's. So, massive loss. And you need Martial in a game like this. I mean, look, Marcus Rashford, Jesse Lingard, you've got to step up tomorrow, and the pressure's on you tomorrow, so you better be able to carry it, because I tell you what, you probably don't deserve second chances. You're on 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th chances now. You've got to grasp this chance, because tomorrow's an opportunity to be heroes in a game where we need heroes. And I tell you what, if they step up to, if Jesse Lingard scores tomorrow and we win, or Marcus Rashford gets a couple of goals tomorrow and we win, they can delete and erase the insufficient performances they've put in for the last 8 months. They've got an opportunity tomorrow to go and erase a lot of bad performances, because we need them tomorrow. We need them to step up to the plate tomorrow. I mean, you look through I think defensively we're okay, apart from Ashley Young at left back, Harry Maguire, Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka hopefully plays. I mean, if Wan-Bissaka doesn't play, I mean, let me just reiterate, Ollie said Wan-Bissaka and Jesse Lingard are maybes. I expect both to start, but that midfield and that attack, it is concerning. It is concerning, and I don't say it's concerning in the way that I want to expose Ollie for it, because I know some people will do that. But as I said at the start, it exposes the lack of investment in the squad in the summer. This was always a weak midfield, that if you lose Paul Pogba, you're in trouble. And lo and behold, we've lost Pogba and we're only 5 games in. This was always a threadbare strike force if you picked up injuries. And lo and behold, we've got injuries. And that's something that irritates me about United as well. Why is it United always get so many bloody injuries in the first 3 months of the season? This has been going on for 7 years. It happened with Sir Alex. It happened with Moyes. It happened with Van Gaal. It happened with Mourinho. What is going on with Manchester United? I mean, change your water supplier. Relay your pitch. Buy some deep heat. I don't know, but there is massive injury problems with Manchester United. Every start of every season, right the way through till about Christmas, we pick up so many niggles and injuries. You've got to look at it. Sports science is huge. You've got to look at it, because we're the only club that seems to pick up these major injuries every bloody time at the same point every season. And it's irritating, and it undermines things. And it massively undermines things when you've got a team that is threadbare. And do Liverpool pick up loads of injuries? No. Do Man City pick up loads of injuries? Not really. They get a couple of bad injuries. But Man United just constantly... And I think, you know what? It goes back to recruitment as well. The statistics are out there. You can look at players, especially when you're buying them. You can look at players and look at their injury record. And a player that's not been injured for the last 4 or 5 years may not be as good as the player that you're looking at. But if they've had 3 or 4 injuries in the last 3 years... I'd go with the player that hasn't been injured, because ultimately it's about getting people on the pitch. And obviously every other club looks at that. We obviously don't. Recruitment, terrible. Zayn Miasi, Mark, if Pogba wants to leave, he will try and stay out of the side as long as possible so his injury doesn't get worse. I think that's unfair to say that. I really do think that's unfair to say that. He also spoke about De Gea's contract and said, we want David to stay. The issue with this is... United let contracts run down. United play hardball with players. But I tell you what, you ain't got a hardball. You've got a fucking egg. It really is. You can't play hardball. He can walk in 3 months. Well, 4 months. He can walk. He can speak to PSG on January the 1st and arrange to go for free, like Herrera did. That's the ridiculously stupid situation United have put themselves in. And we haven't got a strong position to argue with. If De Gea sat there, all we can offer him is money. Because if all he's got to do is open his eyes, and he's a goalkeeper, so he's got good vision. All he's got to do is look at the mess around Manchester United and go, is this the place for me? If I want to be the world's best goalkeeper again, is this the place for me? Is this club going anywhere? You've got a manager saying, yeah, Scholes is probably right. 2 years, write us off. You've got a team that's decimated. You've got Leicester City rolling into town as favourites. I just don't know what, other than love for the club, and that's why, as and when De Gea signs the contract, everyone should bloody applaud him. Actually, if you're ambitious, why would he stay? He's gradually seen the erosion and destruction of Manchester United over the last 6 to 7 years. Why would he sign and stay? But United have played hardball with him about a contract. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Thanks for the contribution, Amma Garab. So those people joining us a little bit late. Martial's definitely out of the Leicester game. More importantly, Paul Pogba's out for the game. And this was always the nightmare. That midfield without Paul Pogba in it. Like, if you did a combined 11 now, knowing Pogba and Martial are out injured, who gets into the midfield? Nobody. Nobody. It's Leicester's midfield. We haven't got anybody who gets into a combined Leicester-Manchester United midfield. It's all Leicester. In the front three, does anyone get in the front three positions? Maybe Dan James. Maybe Dan James. Out of the front 6 positions, maybe Dan James. That's how bad this situation is now. Pogba and Martial are out. And it's a worry, but these players have got to step up to the plate. But my biggest concern tomorrow now is, and I'll replay this, I'll recap this. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was asked, with all these major injuries, this could be the youngest United side you've ever put out, hinting that, are you going to play the youth? He said, well, no, not really. It could be the oldest team because it's a chance for Ashley Young, Juan Mata and Matic to come in and have their chance from the bench. Great. Yabba dabba do. I can't wait now. I can't wait to see this game tomorrow. Matic and Mata back in the starting 11. God help us. I mean, we can win tomorrow. I'm not going to be negative and say that. It's at Old Trafford. The crowd will be up for it. We should be able to beat Leicester at Old Trafford. But it's again what I said last night, isn't it? This isn't a rebuild. Like Paul Scholes says, write us off for 2 years. Write us off for 5 years. If the future is picking Matic and Mata, write us off for fucking ever. Because that's not what this season's meant to be. Like, I can't live with fighting for mid-table with Matic and Mata playing. Get Fred in. Get Pereira in. Get Garner on the bench. Get Gomez on the bench. Get Greenwood in. Start building this team out. Because I don't see what tomorrow is if it's Matic and Mata playing again. Like, even if they have a great game, I can't get excited about it because they're on the decline. Their careers are coming towards the end. That's not going to... When you're a club that, like Manchester United, I can't put this any clearer than this. If you're Liverpool and Man City and you have an injury crisis and you bring Mata and Matic in, it's short-termism. But you're fine because you're a big club and you're still fighting for the title. It doesn't matter. Oh, Mata will be gone in the summer or Matic is finished. You know, for a few games, they come in and they do a job and that's fine. And it works because you're already a good team. If you're Manchester United or you're Chelsea or you're Arsenal and you're trying to build something to get back up there, you don't play Matic and Mata because, all right, short term, you might scrape a win or two. But long term, they're just going to get worse. And long term, they're going to retire. And long term, they're going to decline. They're not part of the future vision. So actually, sticking plasters on it, which is what we've been doing for 6 years, is a waste of time. It's basically covering your arse. It's plastering your arse up. It's basically elongating the inevitable that you're going to end up out of a job. If you are serious about building this club out, then you start building it. You start laying the bricks and the foundation. You get the cement and you build up from the bottom. And the only way you do that is through longevity. And longevity is playing players that are going to be here for a long time. Playing Mata and Matic is not longevity. It's putting a plaster on a wound. And that plaster will come off and the blood will come through. The injury's still there. This is what frustrates me. And maybe I'm the only one who feels this, but I don't see what it does for this team picking Mata and Matic tomorrow. It doesn't offer us anything. It's a short-term thing. And we get told that the youth are ready. This is what irritates me the most. Oh, these lads are ready. If they're ready, then youth and experience should not even be... Youth and they shouldn't even be in the same sentence because they're irrelevant. If they're ready, they're ready. We saw on the tour, they're ready. Play them now. Play them now. Like, I'm not scared tomorrow about if Greenwood starts or if Gomez is on the bench or if Fred starts. I'm not scared about that. But what I am scared about is a game of seeing Matic and Mata and everyone like that playing again. I don't want to see that. Mike Heap says, what if Pogba's on strike and he wants out ASAP? Well, there'd be no point. There's no point Pogba being on strike because he can't go anywhere till January anyway. But, you know, let's play devil's advocate here. If that was the scenario, then at the end of the day, we've only got ourselves to blame. I'll go back to what I said at the start. Pogba, Martial, Shaw are out. But what irritates me the most about this, and as fans you should be irritated, is we said all summer we need 2 midfielders. We bought no midfielders and we said we're screwed this season. That midfield's not good enough. And if Pogba gets injured, we're absolutely screwed. Well, Pogba's injured, folks. And my anger and frustration is aimed firmly at the board here. They have not invested in that team. And now, 5 games into this season, we're going into a game at home to Leicester at Old Trafford going, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. We need the rub of the green tomorrow. We need Leicester not to have a good game. If Leicester turn up and play to their potential, we're in trouble tomorrow. But they might not, and we might get a result out of it. But ultimately, this is disgusting. It's disgusting what the situation at Manchester United. And look, I thought it was great to get rid of Lukaku and Sanchez. It really was. But the issue with that is, if you're getting rid of those players and they deserve to be sold or loaned out, you've got to have sufficient backup. Anthony Martial's our best striker. He's injured. You've now got Rashford and a 17-year-old. It's not good. They should have brought in another midfielder. And they went tight. And this is what our club is. This is what Manchester United Football Club is. Saving money. Taking your money, putting it there into their pocket and spending the bare minimum instead of building a football club. And that's what's happening. And now, who is it who suffers? Who is it who gets stressed? Who is it who gets frustrated? Us, because we care. We actually care about this football club. And they don't. They don't care about this football club. Until they prove otherwise, the owners of this football club and the people running it do not care about this football club because they're putting us into situations with 2 arms tied behind our back. And it's not acceptable. And it's not acceptable. And I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, it's part of football. Pogba's injured. It's just one of those things. It's not one of those things. It's piss poor planning. Everybody could see it. You need to bring midfielders in the summer. And we didn't do it. And what do we get? Well, the money's there, but the right midfielder wasn't there. In the whole world, there wasn't 2 midfielders that Manchester United could sign. What a load of nonsense. And now we're suffering. And I tell you what, for the people who want to be doom and gloom, lose tomorrow, 6 points behind Leicester, mid-table, worst start we've ever had in the Premier League. That's what's staring us in the face. So look, what Matic and Mata better bloody turn up tomorrow, hadn't they? But as I said before, Matic shouldn't even be on the bench. How Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can start a player who slagged him off on social media within an hour of the Southampton game is beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. I'd rather see James Garnett starting. I really would. To be honest, at this point, I'm not even that bothered about results anymore. I'm not. I want to see this team build properly. And that means, to me, it means getting Greenwood and Gomez and Garner involved. It means trying Fred out and seeing if he's good enough. It means not playing Matic and Mata unless it's the Carabao Cup. They should be playing in the Carabao Cup, not the youngsters. The youngsters are the team that has got to build out. Like, there isn't even any logic to picking Matic anyway because he's gone in the summer. And what are you gonna do? Matic is gone. Can I have another midfielder? Yeah, that works really well for you with Fellaini and Herrera. You've got to, if you're Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you've got to start playing these youth players because they're physically real and there. Don't think, oh, I'll play Matic now and then I'll get another midfielder in the summer. Because that didn't happen with Herrera and it didn't happen with Fellaini. You can't trust that board to replace the dead wood. You can get rid of the dead wood, but the only thing you can trust is what physically exists in front of you, and that is these younger players that are apparently ready. Start playing them. Like, Pereira should start tomorrow over Matic anyway. Like, Pereira started against Chelsea. What's happened to Fred? Well, look, Fred will probably be on the bench, I think, Benjamin Heron. But Robert McCormack says Mark wants us to get relegated. Manchester United will never get relegated. We won't get relegated. That's just one of the stupidest comments I've ever read. United will not get relegated. It's, that We might get beat by Leicester tomorrow, but we ain't going to start getting beat by bloody Brighton and everyone like that, are we? Swedes here says, hi H-Bang, Lindelof can't win aerial duels. You can't be a defender and lose so many duels, even though he's a brilliant ball-playing defender. Try him at midfield, really. Well, look, the thing is, that's a very, very good point. We're talking about McTominay and Matic and Mata being in the midfield tomorrow, or maybe Lingard playing in the midfield. But the reality is, Twansebi could play in the midfield. Like, why should Twansebi wait for Lindelof and Maguire to get injured? Why not mix it up a bit? Why not put Twansebi into the midfield? I mean, he could play it right back tomorrow if Wan-Bissaka's out. Wan-Bissaka playing, says Benjamin Herron. So Martial, Pogba and Shaw are definitely out. He reckons Martial and Pogba might be back for the West Ham game, which means they won't play against Astana next week in the Europa League. But with regards to Wan-Bissaka and Lingard, I think they will be back. He said that they may be back, so I think that they will be back, to be honest with you. Kunal says that James Garner is a generational talent, and given first team chances, he will be better than De Jong. What's your opinion on Fred, says Sing Films. Not interested what Ellie thinks. What's your opinion? Well, look, Solskjaer's opinion is way more important than mine or yours. He's Manchester United manager. My opinion on Fred is I would play him tomorrow, because I think if you look at the midfield that United have got tomorrow, there's no flair and there's no creativity. Whatever you think about Matic, whatever you think about McTominay, and whatever you think about Mata, and whatever you think about Lingard, if you moulded them all together, you've basically got a slow player who doesn't really create anything. Yes, Mata can create if he's given the ball in the right situations, but he's slow. Yes, Jesse Lingard can score a goal from the edge of the box if he gets it in the right situation, but he doesn't get on the ball enough. Matic and McTominay are slow and don't move the ball quick enough. So for me, tomorrow, you're playing against a fast, tenacious Ndidi, and then you're playing against two very good box-to-box midfielders in Maddison and Tielemans, and they all pass the ball well. You need to get a bit of pace and tenacity in that midfield. So Fred would be perfect for me. I mean, Pereira, I don't know, but Fred would be perfect. But look, I've got to be even-handed. The thing about Fred is, I don't know what he's doing in training. Now, I would err on the side of caution and say, maybe he's crap in training, and this is why he's not getting into matchday squads. And if that's the case, fine. But I also think you've got to give him a game. You've got to give him a game, because we as fans need to see that. And look, Ollie might think, well, I ain't going to risk that. But you're going into it with a very static midfield if you don't. I think Fred's got to be given a chance. And tomorrow, needs must. I just think it's very sad that one injury to Pogba and we're desperate. And that was always going to be the case, because that midfield, we are the mint with a hole. We are Polo FC. We've got nothing in the middle. It's insufficient. And I'm worried about tomorrow, but I'm not despairing. I think this is how we feel as United fans now, isn't it? We just feel like very deflated. There's so many holes in us, and it's hard. It's hard. You've got to be positive, though. You've got to try and be positive. You've got to try and look forward, but it's difficult. And I've just got so much anger and frustration towards the board and what they've inflicted on us, because the net spend was 60 million in the summer, and we needed a midfielder. We needed two, but even one. Like, how we'd love to have Ander Herrera still here now. And we never even bloody replaced him. Zayn Miasi says, I think Mourinho is a disgrace for buying 200 million on Pogba and 40 on Mata. Almost $250 million. This is criminal. Mourinho didn't buy Mata, and we didn't spend 200 million on Pogba, Zayn. That's one of your worst comments. And H-Bang, yeah, we've read that one. Let's have a look at some of the comments. We're going to lose, says Zach Teller. I don't think that's the attitude to go into, but I can see what you mean. Mourinho didn't buy Mata yet. We know that. And I mean, would you rather play Matic or Fred against Leicester, says Irfan. Definitely Fred for me. Definitely for Fred. I don't think, look, whatever you think about Matic, I don't think Matic should even be in the squad tomorrow. I think it was downright disgusting what he did after that game. And for people who don't know, he basically, within an hour of the game against Southampton, somebody posted something on Instagram saying Solskjaer should be picking Matic or something like that. And Matic liked it. And I think, well, some people would go, oh, it's not really that much. But it's still undermining of the manager. And if Pogba did it or Martial did it, the press would have been all over it. But because Matic is so boring and not flamboyant, and no one really wants to read about Matic, he gets away with it. If Pogba had liked that, That would have been the story every single hour for the last 2 weeks. And the same with Martial. And you would have had people like ex-players going, it's a bloody disgrace, Pogba undermining Oli like that. Or if Martial does it, oh, it's a disgrace, Rashi wouldn't do that. But because it's Matic, everyone ignores it. But the reality is, he's undermined the manager. And then tomorrow he's going to start. I don't think it's acceptable. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. I don't think it's right. Dipanshu Kumar says, play Fred in a CDM and McSauce and Pereira in a 4-3-3. Yeah, I'd be happy with that. I would be happy with that. Tomini, Fred and Pereira, says El Materazzi. Fred might as well book his third wedding. Ollie ain't going to use him, says Bodak Jade. Well, look, Ollie has hinted that he will play Matic and Mata tomorrow. I just hope Leicester aren't on form tomorrow, because I think their speed and tenacity and press will cause any midfield that's got Matic and Matic in it a load of problems. And I just hope we can get a win tomorrow. I really do. We need to scrape a win tomorrow. We need 3 points tomorrow. You can't be after 5 games on 5 points. You can't do that. And and the most important thing is we haven't even had a bad start to the season. If you were looking at that start to the season under Sir Alex or even Mourinho or Van Gaal, we would have said we want at least 12 points from those 5 games. And I look at it and I'll go, right, Chelsea at home. It's still at home. Wolves away. I don't think Wolves are that good anymore. I think Chelsea will beat them tomorrow. Palace at home, definitely should win. Southampton away, definitely should win. Leicester at home, you should fancy your chances. And you're telling me we might have 5 points tomorrow night. You've got to do better than that. Balaji Kumar says, is Ollie selfish to not play the youth to keep his job? I don't know. I always said with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the youth, he talks a good game, but statistically he doesn't really use it. He probably doesn't use it any more than Mourinho did. He uses it on tour and he talks about it, and you get this impression that, oh, well, he's all about the youth. But he didn't really use it in the back end of last season, and at the start of this season, he hasn't really used it. Greenwood's had a few cameos, hasn't he? But, apart from that, he hasn't really used it at all. And here we are. Perfect opportunity to use it. Martial's injured. He's been injured against Southampton as well. Pogba's out. Shaw's out. There's a lot of injuries, and still I don't think we'll see the youth, because still I think he's going to go to the Deadwood, isn't he? Anthony White says, we are playing a very dangerous game. Soon players and all sponsors will walk. We will have no revenue and no future replaced to the owners, says Anthony White. Look, I wouldn't go anywhere. If Manchester United went into trouble, maybe we can buy our club back, but I don't know what the future of Manchester United Football Club is. I think we're being run very, very badly from top to bottom at the moment. But I think that the frustration this morning is that the Paul Pogba scenario is ridiculous. It really is. I spoke about this 2 nights ago. I said Manchester United's season is in the hands of Paul Pogba. And how dangerous is that? Because if he gets injured, we're screwed. If he doesn't want to be here, we're screwed. If he doesn't want to be here and doesn't try, we're screwed. We forced the player to stay and built our whole season around it. But he's just one person. And when he's injured, what have we got? If he doesn't want to be here and doesn't try, what have we got? We had an opportunity to sign 2 midfielders in the summer. We lost Fellaini and Herrera, and we didn't replace them. And that's why tonight or today or wherever you are, we're going into a game against Leicester City, our biggest game of the season that we need to win. And we're going into it with 2 arms tied behind our back. And you know who ties our arms behind our back? The Glazers. That's the truth. We are weak tomorrow because they didn't spend money again. The team might produce another Everton result, says Maniac. I've got a funny feeling I wouldn't even predict tomorrow's result. I know a lot of people are saying we're going to lose. My prediction was we would win 1-0. And that looks, I think if we are going to win, we're going to have to battle really hard to win it. I think the result tomorrow is very hard to predict. Because anybody can produce a game on. And what I would say as a positive thing is, think of giant killings in the cup. Think of, underdogs winning games. The reality is, we're not really underdogs. We've got 75,000 people behind us. We're at Old Trafford. You've got some of the richest players in the game playing tomorrow, whether they're crap or not. And we've got Leicester City. I still think we can get a result. And also, it might just be a one-off result. It might just be everybody fights, gives 100% and we get a result. Long term, that team will be mid-table, I think. But tomorrow, we might just get... That plaster might be big enough to stop the bleeding for one game. And I hope that is the case. It's hard to predict, but it is worrying. I agree. Anna Garab says, do you know anyone from the team staff, or do you know how well educated they are? I don't have their CVs to hand, to be honest. But look, as I've said before, if Pep Guardiola, if Ollie was sacked tonight and Pep Guardiola was in charge right now, I would still go into that Leicester game terrified. Because Pep Guardiola doesn't have the players in that squad to get us playing like Man City do. And he can't buy anybody because the transfer window is closed. So it doesn't really matter how good the coaching or the manager is. The situation United are presented with tomorrow, any manager would struggle. And that's probably the most important thing I'm going to say in this video. Whatever you think about Ollie, whatever you think about the players, whatever you think about the coaching, tell me a manager that you drop in tonight that gets us a win against Leicester tomorrow. Because it would be ridiculously difficult for anybody. Klopp, Pep, Zidane, Simeone, Conte, whoever. They would struggle tomorrow with the team that they've got to use. Because there's no midfield really. There's no Pogba. There's no Martial. You've got Ashley Young at left back. It's decimated. It's not a great squad. It can win, but it's a weak squad. And you've got to look at why it's a weak squad. Two things. One, recruitment of injury-prone players. Two, poor medical staff. We've had this for 6 years now. And three, most important of all, poor recruitment in general. No midfielders brought in. No replacement for Sanchez and Lukaku. It leaves you weak if you get injuries. And what irritates me the most is we saw it coming. You saw it coming in the summer when we didn't buy what we needed to buy. And we saw it over the last 6 years. United always get injuries. We always pick up injuries between September and Christmas. So to go into the season with a weak squad was always going to come back and bite us. And it's bit us ridiculously early this season. If this is our biggest game of the season, we're already screwed, says the Francie Brady. Well, it's the biggest game of the season simply because of how the league table looks. I mean, I can show you the league table. Let me show it you. If it works. Come on. There you go. There's the league table. That's how it looks. So we're in 8th place with 5 points, and Leicester are in 3rd place with 8 points. We've got 5. They beat us tomorrow, we're on 6 points. But more importantly, where United are there, in 8th place with 5th. If we lose tomorrow, we won't be on page 1. We'll be on page 2. Because Spurs are going to win. And teams behind us will win. So we'll be in trouble. We will be in trouble. Massive, massive game tomorrow. A. Roshan says, relegation loading. We'll never get relegated, but mid-table would be like relegation for United. Ooh, it's going to... I tell you what, I said tomorrow's going to be a massive game. It's going to be bloody huge. Join us tomorrow when the team news comes in and for the watch-along. It's going to be massive. Absolutely massive. It's huge. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Speak to you all soon. Please do smash a like on the video before you go. I'm back again at 8 o'clock tonight. Definitely having a drink tonight. Remember, Friday night, it's a laid-back show. We have a few drinks. We answer a lot of the questions. It's Friday night on the Raz. Cracking video coming up for you this afternoon. Another interview that Flex has done. Smash a like, subscribe if you're new. I'll speak to you all soon.